The plan could go a few ways. Best case, you'll have a decent chance of killing the Beast Titan. But for it to succeed, the recruits and I have to die.
As we approach the finale of Attack on Titan, I've been enjoying myself in a complete rewatch of the entire anime. This isn't my first rewatch, probably my third or fourth. But let me tell you, my affection for this anime grows stronger with each viewing. I've noticed that it's all thanks to the breadcrumbs laid out in the first 3 seasons that are now finally bearing fruit as the anime draws to an epic finale. If there's one thing I've come to appreciate, it's the incredible attention to detail in Attack on Titan. For me, Attack on Titan and Hunter x Hunter hold top spots as my all-time favorite animes, and it's hard to find a character who is as beloved as Erwin Smith. Before we delve deep into why we love Erwin Smith, can you please hit the like and subscribe button? I'm aiming for 100 subs by the end of this year, and it would mean the world if I reach that goal. Don't get me wrong, Erwin Smith isn't without his flaws. Some might even argue he's selfish. But as Kenny Ackerman astutely pointed out, we all had to be a slave for something.
All of us had to spend our lives drunk on something. Else we'd have no cause to keep pushing on. Everyone was a slave to something.
For Erwin Smith, it was the truth behind the walls and whether his theory held up, that the memories of those within the walls were wiped out. And for the longest time, knowing that truth was all that mattered to him, especially what Eren's father was hiding in that basement. The question becomes, how significant was the truth to him?
Normally I'd agree with you. A wounded soldier should stay off the battlefield. However, that may be the day we learn the truth about our world. And I'll be damned if I'm going to miss it.
Being there, is that important? More than your legs?
Yes.
More than humanity's victory?
Yes.
That's how far he was willing to go. He was the monster, the con man, the leader who could persuade almost anyone, even if it meant using falsehoods. He witnessed his comrades sacrifice and fall before him, yet he kept pushing towards his dream. But what made us glued to him was despite all the selfishness, the goal of securing humanity's freedom coincided with Erwin Smith's dream of uncovering the truth beyond the walls.
I just wanted to reach that cellar. Everything I've done up to this point, I did in the hopes that this chance would come.
What truly made us fall in love with this character was how he bowed out, how he let go of his dream, how he was able to relinquish the one thing he had been living his life for, all for the sake of humanity's survival.
I'll make the choice for you. Give up on your dream and charge to your death. Lead those crying children straight to hell. I'll reach the Beast Titan and tear him apart.
Attack on Titan is filled with characters whose self-serving motives align with the greater good of their people. Eren's quest for vengeance aligns with what's best for Eldians, although it gets more complicated in Season 4. All Mikasa cared about at this point was Eren. Every character in some way is beholden to something. You could argue that Armin is one of those characters who is the most unselfish of them all. That's mostly because the thing he looks forward to the most is the sea, and how vast it is, at least until Season 3. It's a beautiful dream devoid of rage or vengeance, and that also becomes the catalyst for why Levi chose to save Armin's life over Erwin Smith's.
Good grief. They're all the same. Whining like brats about this dream or that.
There's more out there, though. The sea.
Erwin Smith is often portrayed as a cold leader, yet he cared deeply for his comrades. He didn't hesitate to sacrifice his people for the greater good and prosperity of mankind. Erwin Smith in many ways is a monster. He represents the worst of humanity in the fact that he's selfish. When he delivers his rousing speeches before sending people to their deaths, he says exactly what the people want to hear. He's a con man and he knows it. He's self-aware about this fact that he's indeed a devil. You could even argue that his whole give your hearts for humanity nature is mostly a facade. We see him contemplating in his last moments whether he should just go to the basement in case his plan goes sideways. We then finally see Erwin's guilt. He's wondering if sacrificing the lives of his comrades was even worth it.
Can you see them too? Our comrades, they're all standing around us. They've been watching us all this time. They want to know what we did with the sacrifices that they made. What became of the hearts they gave.
All of these are eventually usually overshadowed by the suicide charge. Erwin, hardly a few steps away from his whole life's dream, marches to death with his soldiers, giving a speech that gives us shivers down the spine but leads to a sad conclusion.
My soldiers scream out! My soldiers rage!
I remember my initial viewing of Attack on Titan. I was somewhat conflicted about Levi's choice to save Armin and letting Erwin Smith meet his end. Yet after several rewatches, I do understand Levi's decision. Erwin Smith's narrative arc came to a poignant close at the end of season 3. We undisclosed the truth beyond the walls, and Levi judged that it was time for Erwin to find his peace, rather than persisting in this harrowing existence. Armin stepping into the role of the Colossal Titan injected a newfound intrigue into the story. As much as I love Erwin Smith, his departure was nothing short of perfect. The question arises, how different would season 4 be if Erwin Smith was still alive? Personally, I think he would have glued things way better. As brilliant as Armin is, he doesn't come out as the strong and unifying force that Erwin Smith was. One simple example is how there was an internal division within the Scouts, with Flock rebelling against the Scouts led by Hanji and siding with Eren and his plans of the rumbling. I am not saying that Erwin Smith would have prevented the rumbling, but I do believe he would have done a better job than Armin. Sure, he would have hated what he found about the world, and that would have caused him so much pain, but the Erwin Smith we knew would have endured, would have led his comrades, maybe even used a few lies and be the devil we know he is. But in the end, he would have been our best shot to take those gambles and quite often to come out victorious. But again, it's hard to hypothesize what could have happened. I would love to know your thoughts on what would have happened had Erwin Smith been alive as well. So, did Erwin Smith's self-serving motives make him a deficient leader or a bad person? Absolutely not. It just made him all the more authentic. Erwin's aspirations and imperfections shaped him into the exceptional leader he became. His pursuit of the truth propelled humanity forward. Just as Levi and Flock pointed out, we wouldn't have come this far without Erwin Smith.
You led us well. Fought hard. No one else could have gotten us this far.
When I realized the commander was still alive, I almost finished him off myself. But then, I recognized that would be a mercy. I thought to myself that he ought to taste more of this hell. Suddenly, I understood. If we want to stand any chance against the Titans, we need a devil!
Rarely have I seen a character that does not have a very deep backstory spanning several episodes. The way Erwin Smith carries himself, his interactions with Levi, and the suicide charge in the end make Erwin Smith one of my favorite characters in all of anime. He does not have a complex story arc like Eren, but he's a man I could follow to our death.